Well, thanks, Andrea, and I'm pleased to be able to tell you that ending poverty is not science fiction anymore. It's happening in a community near you, and it's really thrilling. Now, one of the things I really like about the work that I do in local government is you have to be incredibly creative and you have to be incredibly collaborative, because we're the order of government that means the most to people in their day-to-day lives. If we stop doing our work, people notice almost immediately, and I get tweeted about it almost immediately. It's not that the work of provincial and federal governments isn't important as well, but as Mayor Nenshi says, they could shut down for a few days before you'd notice, but if the local government shuts down, you'll notice in the same minute virtually. And so we have to be creative, not only because we're close to people, but also because we have such limited resources. And I'll touch on that a little bit later and why I think it causes us to have to behave a little bit differently. We also, I think, can be more collaborative because by and large across this country, local governments are nonpartisan. And I understand the importance and value of partisanship at the provincial and federal level, but I also really value not having that layer of complexity to deal with at the municipal issue. It allows us to be very solutions focused and to move beyond ideology. And I think that's where you build bridges to be able to get broad community buy-in, which is, as the Deputy Premier talked about, has to be the foundation for this work, is real community change and real community buy-in. And again, that's what cities are really good at doing, is building big tents. And that's what we've been focused on doing at the City of Edmonton with our poverty strategy. And as Stephen Huddard noted, the benefits are massive. And as the Deputy Premier alluded to, the benefits are huge, whether your perspective is that of a taxpayer or an interested citizen or a business person or a policymaker. And we can all understand the benefits of saving money in healthcare. And if we care in this country about preserving public and universal health care, then we should all care about poverty elimination, because it's the best strategy we have to protect public health care, which I think is a key competitive advantage for this country. But it goes beyond that into policing and into justice and into incarceration, which we're also wasting billions and billions of dollars on in this country. In Alberta alone, the estimate is $7 billion is the opportunity cost of poverty. That's exactly how much money the provincial government is missing because of oil revenue right now. So we can take a short-term strategy to try to hack and slash the budget and pull some revenue levers, which we clearly need to do in Alberta. We had a big election about that. And only one party said we can't raise taxes. Everybody else was arguing about which are the right taxes to raise to make sure we have enough money to get off the roller coaster ride of resource dependence in our public treasury. And so the question is, which ones are we going to raise? And that's important. But how are we going to, on an intergenerational basis, ensure the sustainability of all of these public services and ensure that we're actually spending the resources increasingly on prevention? The only problem is the ROI isn't 4 years from now, and it isn't next quarter. It's a generation from now. But again, this is where cities are really exciting, is that more and more you're seeing leadership at cities, and I don't attribute this to myself, it's really my city council that's willing to do this, is to think intergenerationally about the city building that we're doing, not to think about the next election. And my philosophy is I'd rather do the right thing and lose the next election than do the wrong thing and have to live with the consequences. We are a caring and inclusive community, and I think one of the phrases that I look back to on this that I think has weaved its way through the city and its whole history is something that the first president of the University of Alberta said, which is that the university will not be, and I'm paraphrasing this part, not be just a preserve for the elite, not just an ivory tower, as it were, but it'll be an institution for the uplifting of the whole people. This was the first act of the Alberta legislature, was to found the university, and the first president was hired to make it something that would be relevant to everybody, not something that would be relevant only to a few. And so I've been challenging myself to think for a while now about what it would mean to build a city that was for the uplifting of all people. I think it's an inspiring idea. I think we've been trying to do it anyway without putting the right language to it. But I think when we talk about inclusion, which is a word that, you know, it's like sustainability, you say it enough times and anyone can say it without knowing the significance of it. And so I really think about Edmonton as a city that is for the uplifting of the whole people. But ultimately, as we consolidate our work and as we work to tie it all together, it really is Edmontonians who are going to have to deliver this. And I think that's the strength of taking a bottom-up approach. And I really do think cities are going to continue to drive change in this country, whether it's urban transit policy or whether it's poverty elimination. We have that role to play for the reasons I talked about, which is that we're a little bit outside the partisan fray. We can call for solutions. We can be evidence-based in a much more clear-cut way, I think, than other orders of government, simply because of structure and scale. And we have that connection with our population because we're closest to the people. And we've shown real results in things like eliminating homelessness and the work we've done. And we've shown remarkable alignment in terms of City of Edmonton, City of Calgary, City of Medicine Hat, City of Lethbridge, City of Red Deer, communities all across Alberta developing these strategies and doubling down with political leadership and civic buy-in from across sectors to really move the needle on this. And so cities are on the front lines when it comes to galvanizing innovative approaches, to engaging citizens to be part of this work, and to ensuring our communities take care of our most vulnerable. And so I told a story in last week's State of the City about a giant flood that hit Edmonton in 1915. And the same things would have happened in Calgary a few years ago, but I was reminding Edmontonians of some history. And part of the metaphor was, the water went up 42 feet in the river in Edmonton, washed out businesses, 2,000 people were homeless. Do you think people stood on the riverbank and argued about whose jurisdiction it was to fix the problem? No, Edmontonians, like any other community-minded people, rolled up their sleeves and got to work. And that's what's happening in communities and with local governments across this country, that's creating space where there's comfort for provincial governments to come in and eventually federal governments to come in and do this work with us. So let me leave you with a quote then that we stumbled across from one of the US strategies. I can't remember which city, I have to look this up, but this really resonated with me. Charity is good, justice is better. And so surely, this is justice that we can all get behind, and I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that Edmonton is ready. Thank you.